Hi, I want to do a review of the Bluetti AC200MAX. Now, full disclosure, Bluetti did send this unit to me for review, but everything in this video is my own opinion. Now, one of the main reasons why I wanted to test this unit is because I already own two B300 expansion batteries, and when you add up all of the capacity here, it has a whopping almost 8,200 watt hours of storage capacity. On its own, the AC200MAX has over 2 kilowatt hours of storage capacity, so you may not even need expansion batteries, but if you do, not only can it work with the B300, it can work with the B230 expansion batteries, and I was told it can work with the new B300S batteries. In this video, I want to cover the physical characteristics and what you get in the box. I want to talk about charging, discharging, and then finally, I'll give you a summary of my thoughts on the AC200MAX. I have a few other Bluetti power stations, and every time I get one delivered, I am significantly impressed by their packaging. They definitely make sure that no matter what the shipping company does, it is well protected and it's going to get to your doorstep in one piece. Even the thickness of the foam on the inside of the box is impressive. So this device weighs about 62 pounds. Like I mentioned, has over 2 kilowatt hours of storage capacity. The AC inverter on here can output 2200 watts of continuous power. It can actually go a little bit higher than that, which I'll show you. And it can surge up to 4800 watts. And the reason why that surge power is important is because it can start things like a refrigerator. And a refrigerator has a compressor in it, and it needs a brief surge of power to get started. In terms of charging, you can use the included power supply, which I'll show you, for 500 watts of input from a wall AC. And impressively, you can input 900 watts of solar into the AC200MAX, and you can actually combine those two inputs together to get up to 1400 watts of input. The battery chemistry inside of here is lithium iron phosphate. The cells are rated for 3,500 cycles, down to 80% of the original battery capacity. And if you don't know what a cycle is starting at 100%, draining the battery to 0, going back up to 100, and if you did that every single day, that 3,500 cycles translates into about 9.5 years. So super long lasting batteries. Next, let's go over outputs, and we'll start at the top. First, you can notice that there's two handles here, which makes it easy to carry. There are two wireless charging pads up here, so you can charge two phones at once. On the front, you have all of your outputs that are covered with these dust covers. Over here, you have a 30 amp RV plug. You have 4 wall AC outputs. You have 4 USB-A ports, and these over here are quick charge. Then you have one USB-C power delivery port at 100 watts. You have some barrel ports at 12 volts. And these guys over here are also 12 volts. If you wanted to hardwire something in, you could use the specialty port, 12 volts at 30 amps. And then this one is your standard car port at 10 amps. On the front, it has a nice color display. You can see the state of charge. You can see the inputs and the outputs, AC and DC. This is also a resistive touch screen. So for example, if I wanted to turn on the AC inverter, I can just tap there and there. You can touch settings and change all kinds of settings in here. You can look at data and see how the battery is doing. There's all kinds of data you can look at and things you can change on the screen. On the side, you have your wall AC power adapter input. You also have a DC input for solar panels or for your car charger. And then you have 2 ports up here for the expansion batteries. Now, if you're thinking about getting the B300 battery, it's going to come with a battery cable. It's going to connect in and work great with the AC200MAX. Now note, because of the connections are on this side of the AC200MAX and you want to stack them, it's going to have to be backwards because this is the back side of the AC200MAX and this is the front of the B300 battery. This cable is not long enough to turn this around. So here's how I've been using it. I got both batteries connected in and I have it on this handy utility cart so I can move it around pretty easily. So besides the main unit, what do you get in the box? You get the wall AC adapter here. It's a fairly sizable power brick. You get cables to hook up to your solar panels. So this goes into that DC port, and then has an XT90 connector that can hook up to this second cable that it comes with that has MC4 connectors on the end for your solar panels. Or if you don't want to use solar panels, you get this cable that it can connect into your car's 12 volt port. And you also get a bag with a drawstring. The AC200MAX can talk to the Bluetti smartphone app via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And there's something interesting to point out here before I get into the specifics. When you first open the app, there is an option to log in and register, so you can talk to the device over Wi-Fi, but you can also just connect directly with Bluetooth, and that has an offline mode here down here. And what's great about that is that if you're in the middle of the woods, or if you don't want to give your email address away, all you have to do is click this offline mode, and see, it found it right away, and I click it. That's how quickly it can find the device and start talking to it. And you can see on the app here, I can see basically all the same information I can see on the screen. So you can see state of charge, input and output wattages, toggle switches for AC and DC. If you click on settings, There's only auto sleep and checking on the version. There's no other options to like upgrade the firmware, for example, and that's because it's not connected to the internet. So you do need to register and connect via Wi-Fi if you want to do firmware updates. Next, let's talk about charging the AC200MAX. My favorite way to charge is always by solar panels when possible. The AC200MAX can handle up to 900 watts of solar input. Now, I don't exactly have 900 watts, but I do have close to 800 watts with two of those solar panels you can see in the background. So it's a pretty sunny day, and you can see the solar input is getting close to 800 watts. And at this rate, it will charge the battery faster than the wall AC, which is 500 watts. So something that the AC200MAX can do is it can stack inputs. So right now I have it charging by solar panels, two of the solar panels out there in the yard in the full sun, and it's making 650 watts or so. And now what I want to do is add the 400 watt charger to see if I can stack that wattage input. So right now it's about 650 watts. Let me plug it in. I'll plug it in the charger. Relay click, and you can see over here that is bringing 480 watts. So in this case with wall AC and solar, I can combine them to get over 1100 watts of input. In another test with charging, I was curious how long it would take if you only had the wall AC and started from 0%, and the answer was about 4 hours to fill up the entire tank. So I want to show you what happens when you connect the batteries in, especially in this situation where the AC200MAX internal battery is at 0%. I have both batteries plugged in over here, and they are stacked right here, so it's all front facing. So I'm going to turn these on. So what you get on the screen is connecting, and you can see it went from 0 to 55%. It's really nice on the screen. You can see this one's at 0%, this battery's at 75, and the other one is at 90. And something interesting to note, it doesn't leave the AC200MAX at 0%, it does charge it with those other two batteries. Next, let's talk about discharging. I wanted to do an AC efficiency test, so I took the battery from 100% down to 0%. After draining the battery all the way down to 0, I got about 1.7 kilowatt hours, and if you divide that by the stated capacity, the AC efficiency that I got was about 87%. So you can output 2200 watts of continuous power on the AC200MAX, but you can also extend beyond that for a time. You can see here I'm getting close to 2400 watts of continuous output, and the alarm is going off telling me that I'm getting an inverter overload. Now, depending on how much load you have on here, it'll keep running for a little bit longer, but it will eventually shut off to protect the batteries from overheating. The AC200MAX does have that 30 amp RV output, so I had to test it on my RV, and with a dog bone adapter, I'm able to convert that 30 amp plug to make it work with my 50 amp service, and it was able to run everything just fine inside the RV, but I did put it to the test and tried to start my 13,000 BTU roof air conditioner, and unfortunately, that 4,800 watts of surge wasn't enough to get it started. However, if I installed one of those soft start devices on my air conditioner compressor, I bet it would work. And in terms of the other output ports, all of them worked as expected. All right, so what are my thoughts on the Bluetti AC200MAX? Overall, it is a solid machine. I like that they have the lithium iron phosphate batteries inside. I really like that it has the expansion battery options here. You can have two of them, and it has 3 different varieties of Bluetti batteries that can work with it. That is very nice. 2 kilowatt hours itself in here, so again, you might not need the whole thing. I think it's a good blend of portability and home backup option. So it is 62 pounds, so you're probably not gonna like toss it in your car to like run your laptop, but you might take it camping or your RV, and then you could also use it in case there's a power outage. I like that Bluetti made their smartphone app that has that little offline button, so you can talk directly to the AC200MAX and you don't need to log in and you don't need internet. I like on the screen here that you can get all kinds of information. One thing I don't care about on the screen is the viewing angle. You have to kind of look at it directly straight on, and sometimes when you're up here, you can't really see what's down there, say if I have it on the ground. Now, one piece of information that I think is missing from the screen that would be helpful is a time to empty or a time to full. So if you're draining it, how much time does it think is remaining on the battery? It just doesn't tell you that information. I mentioned I was a big fan of the solar input, 900 watts, it's great. What's not, I think, so hot is the 500 watt power brick. This thing is a little bit beefy, so if you do travel, you gotta remember to bring it. And if you watch my other reviews, you know I say this, I always want more USB-C ports. There's only one on here. I wish they had a few. So hopefully you enjoyed this review of the Bluetti AC200MAX. Post any questions or comments down below. Check the video description for any deals or coupons that I know about on the AC200MAX, and have a great day.